survived a Karen apocalypse at the mall. Started like any other late shift. Third coffee of the evening in one hand. Radio clipped to my belt. I sat in the flickering glow of the CCTV monitors like some low-rent wizard watching over a kingdom of empty storefronts and half-lit food courts. I'm a night security guard at the Ridgedale Plaza Mall, a sprawling two-story relic from the early 2000s, sitting like a ghost in the heart of the suburbs. Most nights are slow, predictable, the occasional shoplifter, kids sneaking into the photo booth to vape. One guy tried to take a nap under the massage chairs once. Weird, but manageable. Tonight was supposed to be the same. It was 7:45 p.m., just 15 minutes until most of the shops shut their gates and the fluorescent lights dimmed into that eerie post-hours twilight. The kind of lighting that makes mannequins look just a little too real. I was zoning out, letting the caffeine settle into my bones, when I heard it. Scree. It sounded like a banshee getting strangled with a receipt roll. I snapped upright, coffee forgotten, eyes darting to the monitors. Camera 7 lit up with chaos. Macy's returns desk. There she was, framed in the grainy black and white feed like the villain of a sitcom. A woman, mid-40s maybe, platinum blonde bob so sharp it looked like it could slice glass. She wore massive sunglasses even though it was pitch black outside, and a galaxy print yoga set stretched tighter than the budget on mall security. She was wielding a blender. More accurately, she was brandishing it like a cursed relic. Her voice rang out, even through the crappy mic. IT says satisfaction guaranteed. Well, I'm not satisfied. The returns employee, barely old enough to vote, looked like she was one passive-aggressive Yelp review away from a full mental collapse. Eyes wide, blinking too fast, either trying not to cry or already halfway there. I sighed and reached for my radio. Marcus, got a Karen on aisle regret. His reply crackled in with perfect dry sarcasm. Copy that. Deploying sympathy. I stood, adjusted my belt, and started toward Macy's. My boots echoed across the polished tile. Somewhere in the distance, the Muzak version of a 2010s pop song played through the overhead speakers, warping into a surreal backdrop for the unfolding drama. It was going to be one of those nights. As I neared Macy's, I could already hear the scene escalating. The blender woman, Karen, by all traditional indicators, was now shaking the blender like a maraca. Something brown and crusty was stuck to the inside, probably a protein shake gone feral. I used it once, she lied, clearly forgetting the sticky residue and scratches on the base. And it exploded. There were chunks. Do you understand how traumatic that is? The teenage employee, whose name tag read Tristan, nodded rapidly. I'm sorry, ma'am, but the return policy. I don't want a policy, Karen thundered. I want justice. She slammed the blender on the counter. It made a solid thunk like a warning shot. I stepped up beside the cosmetics counter, giving Karen my best disarming smile. Evening, ma'am. Everything okay here? She turned to me slowly, those massive sunglasses making it impossible to read her eyes. Are you security? Yes, ma'am. Just making sure everything's going smoothly. She pointed the blender at me like a lawyer presenting Exhibit A. This death trap nearly killed me, and your underage cashier refused to refund me. Tristan looked like he wanted to melt through the floor. I kept my voice calm, steady. I'm sorry to hear that. Do you have the receipt? She slapped it on the counter with the kind of force that made the registers rattle. Right there. I glanced at it. Purchase date, 14 months ago. Ma'am, I said gently, this is from over a year ago. The store's return policy. I don't care about your corporate policies, she snapped. I'm a loyal customer. I've spent thousands here. Sure you have, I thought, on leopard print leggings and moon crystal body spray. But I didn't say that. Instead, I leaned in slightly. I understand your frustration, but this isn't something I can override. If you'd like, I can help you file a customer service complaint. That's when she did it. Karen reached into her tote bag, pulled out her phone, and held it up like a weapon. You're being recorded for TikTok. Say hi to your followers, sweetie. God help me. I took a step back, doing the mental calculation of how viral this was going to go if she edited the clip just right. Me, the security guard harassing a woman just trying to return her precious blender. Tristan, blinking like a hostage. Karen, spinning the narrative like a pro. And just as she started fake crying into the camera, Marcus walked in. Tall, built like a linebacker, and rocking the patience of a monk who's been through this before. He took one look at the scene and deadpanned. Ah yes, the sacred blender of disappointment. Legend says it blends souls. Karen whipped around, utterly thrown. Excuse me? Marcus didn't flinch. Ma'am, you've made your point. This isn't productive anymore. You can either leave the store or we'll need to escort you out. There was a moment of stunned silence. Then, like clockwork, Karen's voice pitched up another octave. This is discrimination. I know my rights. Of course, we gave her a final warning, but she wasn't backing down. Eventually, mall management had to step in. They offered her a $10 Macy's gift card just to make her leave. She took it, muttering something about ungrateful minimum wage drones and lawsuits. We watched her storm off, heels clicking like gunshots, blender under one arm and justice thoroughly unserved. Back in the security office, I slumped into my chair. Marcus handed me a fresh coffee and clinked his cup against mine. To our fallen comrade, Blender Boy. I laughed. Poor Tristan. Hope he's not scarred for life. Marcus smirked. If he lasts the week, we'll buy him a real blender. One that blends feelings. The monitors flickered. Quiet again. For now. But the mall at night has a way of breathing. Waiting. Plotting its next little drama. And I had a feeling tonight was far from over. You ever walk into a room and feel the atmosphere tighten? Like stepping into a thundercloud right before the lightning hits? That was the returns section of Macy's when I got there. What I thought was going to be a routine one-woman showdown had evolved, mutated, multiplied. This wasn't a standard Karen incident. This was a Karen convergence. The blender-wielding ringleader was still center stage, but now she had backup. 3 of them hovering just behind her like some kind of suburban a cappella strike team. Same vibes, same intensity, matching oversized handbags. You could smell the entitlement like it was Chanel No. 5 mixed with hot yoga sweat and peppermint lattes. I stood still for a moment, absorbing the situation. The lead Karen was, of course, still waving her crusty blender like it was a holy relic. But now, directly to her right, was Candle Karen, arms crossed, clutching a half-melted, lemon vanilla 3-wick candle like she was holding a dead hamster. It changed scents halfway through, she barked. It started lemon and then it went straight to burnt sugar. I didn't sign up for that betrayal. Behind her was Chain of Command Karen, who demanded not just a manager, but the manager's manager, which, judging by her tone, meant someone who reported directly to Jeff Bezos or the ghost of Macy himself. And to the far left, holding her phone vertically, was Livestream Karen. We live at Ridgedale Mall where corporate America is, yet again, silencing strong female voices. This is abuse. We will not be quiet. Her voice echoed slightly. She even brought a ring light. It was like staring into the eye of a reality TV hurricane. I cleared my throat and stepped forward, doing my best impression of a calm professional. Ladies, if you could lower your voices, this is a shared space. Mistake. Big one. Like saying Beetlejuice 3 times in a row. Blender Karen whipped around. Oh, look. Security thinks he's a cop. The others turned too in perfect synchronized motion. Like velociraptors in yoga pants. Candle Karen sneered. A mall cop, even worse. Do you get a real badge or just a sticker? Livestream Karen panned her phone toward me. And here we have the face of intimidation. He looked scared. Are you scared, mall man? I gave her a tight smile and pointed to the wall-mounted sign above them. This area under surveillance cameras operate 24/7. I gestured calmly. You're all on 6 cameras. Please step aside or I'll have to escalate this. They stared at me, jaws clenched, for a beat too long. Then, mercifully, they scoffed in harmony and shuffled a few feet away like angry ducks, muttering about how he's lucky this isn't New York, and I know my rights. I exhaled. Too soon. because then came the noise. It started as a low metallic groan, eek, followed by a sharp clang, like something heavy just fell where it definitely shouldn't have. I froze. The Karens went silent too, all heads swiveling in unison like a hydra detecting prey. Another sound followed, this time more like a dragging noise. Long, slow, rhythmic, from somewhere deep in the store, from somewhere where no one should have been. I looked at Tristan, the poor cashier, who was now halfway behind the returns desk like a soldier in a foxhole. "You got anyone in inventory back there?" I asked. He shook his head violently. "No, everyone clocked out by 7. I tapped my radio. "Marcus, you hear that? Copy. That's a negative unknown activity in Macy's back end. Want me to sweep it?" I hesitated, because in every horror movie ever made, this is the part where the guy says, "I'll check it out." And 5 minutes later, he's featured on the live stream, screaming while being dragged into the HVAC vents by something with claws and bad breath. I sighed. "I'm closer. I'll check it. Keep the feed live." I turned to the Karen quartet. "Please remain here." Chain of command, Karen pointed. "You should do your job faster. I'm already calling mall corporate." "Of course you are." I headed through the staff-only door behind the returns desk, stepping into a narrow hallway of beige walls and old cleaning charts. The flickering lights above did nothing to help the mood. My boots echoed. The dragging sound came again, louder this time, coming from the loading dock. I moved slow, hand hovering near my belt. Not because I had a weapon, we're not armed, but just to feel like I had something between me and whatever made that noise. Another loud bang echoed off the concrete. I picked up the pace. Rounding the corner to the loading area, I saw something that made my stomach twist. A man, crouched, pale, thin, wearing a shredded mall Santa suit, despite it being the middle of July. His beard was tangled, his eyes locked onto mine, unblinking. A box cutter dangled loosely from one hand, and behind him, a trail of blood leading from the freight elevator. I froze. He grinned, teeth yellowed. "You smell like peppermint," he whispered. "What the hell?" I reached for my radio, voice low. "Marcus, I'm gonna need you back here. Now." Back at the returns desk, Livestream Karen tilted her phone. "And now security is disappearing. Classic. They leave us unprotected." Candle Karen sniffed dramatically. Chain of command Karen demanded the district manager's emergency number. Blender Karen just stared at the hallway I disappeared into, eyes narrowed. She whispered, just loud enough for the phone to pick up, "I told you this mall had a vibe." And for once, she might have been right, because whatever just woke up in the belly of Macy's wasn't interested in refunds. Some sounds never leave you. Screams, glass shattering, the soft hiss of static when the power cuts out in the middle of a night shift. But tonight I heard a new one. One I'll hear in my nightmares from now until I'm buried under the fluorescent lights of this cursed mall. Heels, clacking, in sync, like a stampede from the seventh circle of suburban hell. I spun on my heel just in time to see her. Queen Karen. She emerged from the atrium like she owned the building. Chin high, platinum gray helmet of hair unmoving, lipstick a shade of red that suggested blood and litigation. Her shoulders were squared, her walk deliberate. She wore a leopard print shawl and wielded a clipboard like it was a broadsword forged in the fires of customer service complaints. Behind her, more. A synchronized phalanx of middle-aged women followed at a steady clip, pushing shopping carts with no purchases, just handbags and fury. Their footsteps echoed across the marble like war drums. This was no coincidence. This was organized. Queen Karen stopped 2 feet from me and extended her clipboard like she was serving me court papers. "I represent the Concerned Shoppers Alliance," she declared. That wasn't a sentence. That was a threat. "You have violated 3 of our consumer rights tonight. I will be contacting Channel 7, possibly Channel 4, depending on how fast you comply." I blinked. "There's no such thing as the Concerned Shoppers Alliance." She smiled like a wolf. "There is now." I glanced past her to the growing crowd. The original Karens had joined ranks, forming a loose semicircle of passive-aggressive hostility. Livestream Karen's ring light was now strobing between faces. Candle Karen held up her half-burnt lemon candle like it was sacred. Blender Karen had returned, blender still in hand like a scepter. This wasn't a random event. It was a coordinated uprising. I tapped my comms, stepping back instinctively. Marcus? I need backup. Karen's forming Voltron. No reply. I tried again. Silence. Cold dread wrapped around my spine. Marcus was many things. Slow was not one of them. Something was wrong. I bolted back into the security office, fingers flying across the console keys as I pulled up the live feeds. Camera 11, food court. There he was, Marcus, pinned between Panda Express and the pretzel stand. Arms slightly raised, expression calm but strained. He was surrounded, not by mallgoers, not by kids, by Karens. A full circle of them, at least 15. They weren't yelling, they were chanting. Low, rhythmic. Policy is a suggestion. Satisfaction is a right. I leaned closer. My gut dropped. Some of them were holding receipts, decade-old receipts, like Holy Scripture. A woman waved an ancient flip phone. One lady clutched a cracked George Foreman grill. Marcus wasn't moving. I texted him. Blink if you're okay. The camera feed glitched. Then he looked straight at the lens and blinked twice. That was our emergency code. He was trapped, and I had no idea by what. I turned to re-enter Macy's, but Queen Karen blocked the hallway like Gandalf denying access to Mordor. You think you can intimidate us? You think uniforms scare us? I've been kicked out of 3 targets and 1 TJ Maxx for truth-telling. I tried to reason. Ma'am, there's a security emergency. She tapped her clipboard. Exactly. We warned you about the scent-switching candles, and you ignored us. I scanned the group. Their expressions were no longer angry. They were blank, unified. This wasn't just entitlement anymore. This was something else. A movement, a hive. Then Livestream Karen stepped forward. We are the voice of the unheard, the returners, the refund denied, the coupon expired. Queen Karen raised her hand, and they all fell silent. No comms, no Marcus, a growing Karen army. This had become a siege, and somewhere behind them, the dragging sound from earlier, getting closer. I made a snap decision. I bolted sideways, diving into a service corridor and locking the utility door behind me. I ran through the guts of the mall, dodging exposed pipes and old janitor carts, making my way to the back of the food court through the emergency exit. I emerged behind the smoothie counter, crouched low. I could see Marcus, still standing calmly as the circle around him shifted and pulsed like a living thing. He saw me and didn't react. Smart. Any sudden move and this crowd would probably swarm like piranhas at a return counter. I scanned the group. That's when I noticed something else. None of them were blinking. Not once. I watched for 10 full seconds. Nothing. No blink. No shift. Just that same blank stare, like puppets on pause. Marcus. I whispered into my mic, hoping he could still hear me. Something's wrong. They're not normal. His voice crackled in finally. They're not Karens anymore. I froze. What do you mean? He responded quietly. I heard the noise. Back in the stockroom. Something opened. A door. Or maybe a box. Ever heard of the Mall of Echo Pines? I had. Barely. An urban legend. A cursed mall that got shut down in the late 90s after an incident. They said the complaints from the shoppers got so overwhelming, they created a feedback loop, like an echo chamber of endless dissatisfaction. This place was built over it, Marcus said, and it's waking up. Behind me, I heard it again. Heels. The clack. Louder now. Closer. From the shadows of the employee hallway emerged someone, or something new. Another Karen, but taller, grayer, her eyes milky white, her mouth twisted into a smile that was all gums. And she whispered, voice layered like a chorus, I need to speak to the eternal manager. I sprinted through the service hallway like the walls were collapsing behind me. The closer I got, the louder the noise became. An overwhelming cacophony of raised voices, slapping sandals, and the shrill hum of justice being misinterpreted in real time. When I reached the food court, it was worse than I feared. Far worse. The Karens had converged on Sparrow. A battle line had formed on one side, an exhausted pizza kid, probably still in high school, hands shaking as he tried to explain the crust situation. On the other, a wall of Karens, phones raised like torches, each one shrieking their version of the same story. Gluten-free isn't a lifestyle. It's my identity. You can't discriminate against my digestive system. I took a 23andMe and it said I'm allergic to vibes. So fix your energy. I demand to FaceTime the regional manager right now. They had effectively sealed off all exits. Carts were positioned to block walkways. One Karen had her yoga mat rolled out like it was sacred ground. Another stood atop a table, filming in vertical orientation, shouting, "This is what oppression looks like." In the middle of it all was Marcus, pinned between Auntie Anne's and Cinnabon, his arms raised, holding a half-eaten cinnamon pretzel like a white flag. His voice crackled over the comms. "They're multiplying." He looked hollowed out. His security hat was tilted sideways. Salt from the pretzel clung to his eyebrow like snowflakes. One of them brought a second ring light. I scanned the crowd. Sure enough, there were two now, flashing in tandem, casting harsh shadows across their gloss-lipped faces like some kind of influencer horror show. I stepped forward, raised my voice, and channeled every ounce of fake authority I had. "Ladies, mall's closing. Time to wrap it up and head home. Doors are locking in 15. Silence. Then, Queen Karen turned, eyes narrowing like a hawk spotting a weak antelope. She stepped forward, clipboard soggy from earlier, but still held like a weapon. "This is harassment," she snarled. "You're infringing on our freedom to consume. You can't silence us. We are the backbone of this economy." Several Karens behind her chanted in unison. "Rights, returns, refunds, rights, returns, refunds." This was turning cultish. I took one slow step back. Marcus looked at me, mouthed, "Plan B." We didn't have a plan B. That's when it happened. A small voice cut through the chaos like a blade. "Y'all need to go home. I just wanted Panda Express." Heads turned. Every Karen froze. At the center of the atrium stood a kid. Couldn't have been more than 10. Bowl cut, sauce-stained hoodie, clutching an empty orange chicken container and an untouched fortune cookie. And his finger was on the fire alarm. He pulled it. Scree! The high-pitched scream of the alarm drowned everything out. A split second later, sprinklers erupted overhead. Chaos. Phones sparked and sizzled as water poured down. Ring lights died with a pop. Queen Karen screeched as her mascara ran down her cheeks like war paint melting. Purses slipped. Clipboards warped. Lipstick smudged into Joker grins. Pandemonium. The hive collapsed. They scattered like vampires at dawn, fleeing toward dry ground, shrieking as their waterproof mascara proved a lie and their synthetic yoga pants soaked up regret. Blender Karen tripped, her Vitamix skidding across the tile floor like a puck on ice. Livestream Karen tried to save her phone with a Ziploc bag, but it was too late. A final static pop and her screen went black. Even Queen Karen, the unshakable high priestess of complaint, dropped her clipboard and ran, slipping on a wet piece of promotional signage that read, "Sparrow, the slice is right." I jogged over to Marcus, who was leaning against the Cinnabon kiosk, drenched but grinning. "You okay?" He held up the pretzel like a toast. Victory never tasted so stale. The kid, the tiny hero, stood nearby, watching the chaos with a satisfied grin. I crouched down beside him. "Hey kid, what's your name?" He shrugged. "Dylan. You saved the food court tonight, Dylan." He cracked open his fortune cookie. "Read it." Smirked. "The crowd is not always right." I stared at it, then looked up at Marcus. We both shivered, because that fortune hadn't come from Panda Express. The lights flickered again. Emergency backup kicked in, and on the far end of the atrium, just for a second, we saw her again, the pale Karen, standing just beyond the edge of the food court, dripping wet, grinning, still whispering, "I need to speak to the eternal manager." By 10:15 p.m., the mall was silent again. The kind of silence that feels earned, heavy, soaked in chlorine-scented sprinkler water and psychic exhaustion. Emergency crews showed up, flashing lights reflecting off puddles of melted mascara and soggy promotional flyers. First responders wandered the food court, confused. There was no sign of the Karens, no arrests, no witnesses, just a wave of damp, furious energy that lingered in the air like the scent of microwaved Cinnabon and broken dreams. Apparently, a half-dozen formal complaints had already been filed online. Fire suppression system discriminatory. Unprovoked spiritual assault by underaged customer. Security guard looked at me with an accusatory tone. Marcus and I sat slumped in the security office, water still dripping from our uniforms, our souls soggy. The monitors flickered quietly. Every store was locked. Every corridor was dark. It was over, for now. Marcus took a long sip from his dented thermos, sighed like a man 10 years older, and muttered, "You think that kid was real?" I didn't answer right away, just stared at the monitor, at the memory, the hoodie, the fury, the tray of orange chicken like it was forged in the fires of justice. I nodded, slowly. "He was more than real," I said. "He was the chosen one." The next morning I came in early. Something in me wouldn't rest. I pulled up the footage from the food court, scanning it frame by frame. The chaos, the chanting, the moment the sprinklers burst and the hive unraveled. And there, in the center of it all, was the kid, standing on his own, covered in sticky sauce, screaming with the fury of a generation forced to share retail space with unchecked consumer rage. But something was off. No clear footage of his face. No ID tag. No record of him entering or exiting the mall. No parents. No Panda Express receipt. Just a blurry hoodie, a flash of sneakers, and a glowing orange chicken tray that never emptied. I paused the tape, zoomed in, printed it. Now it hangs in the security office, right above the fire panel, framed in a 99-cent clearance rack picture frame from Hobby Lobby. A grainy image, the kid mid-yell, finger pointing at the Karens like a tiny mall prophet. The plaque reads, "In honor of the Panda Kid savior of the mall. May your chicken always be orange and your voice always loud. And sometimes, when the night shift drags into the witching hour and the wind howls through the empty food court vents, I swear I hear it again, faint, echoing, carried on the stale air like a forgotten ringtone. Y'all need to go home." I look to Marcus. He hears it too. And we know, if the Karens return, we'll be ready.